do you think's the biggest position of need for this class?
I think it's kind of two spots that stand out to me. First is linebacker, and the linebacker board is dire. I can't say it any other way. There's two names on the linebacker board right now. There's Blake Nichelson, who just visited this past weekend. He's a linebacker out of California. Really, really like his game. He's a two-way player. On offense, he ran for 2,300 yards, 36 scores last year on 200 carries. I'm a big fan of linebackers that also play running back. I think they usually pan out more on the next level. And then you have DeMarco Ward out of Georgia, who's visiting this week, this weekend coming up. That's the only two names on the board. You have the Harris twins out of Orlando that they've hosted them on a visit. But when you look at that position, they've had to hit the portal real hard in order to bring talent in there. And I know they run a 4-2-5 right now, and there's not a the linebacker position's changing in college football, but the fact that they have two on the board right now, and you're going to possibly lose Gaynor, you're going to lose Tatum Bethune, who you get from UCF. There's some question marks on Steven Dix's future if he's going to stick with it. They're going to lose a lot of guys, and last year they landed one linebacker in Omar Graham. So I think that's number one for me, and number two is running back. There's two names on the board there. You have Dylan Smothers out of North Carolina. And then you have Sam Singleton, who's visiting this weekend, supposedly. Really like him, track guy, 6 feet plus, has a great frame. But that's the two names on the board right now. And, Florida is notorious for guys blowing up their senior year. Interested to see what happens there, because Norvell, he's put guys in the NFL. You got Tony Pollard. You have the kid for Washington. His name is escaping. Antonio Gibson. Henderson for the Rams. He's put a lot of guys in the league. So I trust his evaluation of running back. But those are the two spots right now where I scratch my head, and I'm thinking, what are we doing here?
Yeah, so you went to a few different positions there. You covered quarterback. Based on the camps you've seen the last few weekends, the official visits, unofficial visits, what are some of those targets that you might be a little more excited about that you have a reasonable chance of bringing in?
So, I'm a little negative. I'm trying to be a little realistic because I'm on the full boat where I'm a big fan of Norvell and his staff. I think that he evaluates. I think he's a great coach, but he's got to win. Florida State has to prove it on the field, and that they are in a full-on show-me mode. But when you look at the board, you look at Hakeem Williams, who's a wide receiver from down in the Miami area. Excuse me. Really big fan of his game. He's a big body kid, 6'3", 200 pounds. He might end up the number one wide receiver in the state of Florida. And I'm not sure if you follow the state of Florida, but the state of Florida is deep this year at wide receiver. You have Jaylen Brown, who right now is my number one guy. A guy who stretches the field at 30 yards a catch nearly, runs track. Brandon Initz, I'm sure you're familiar with that name. I expect him to go to Ohio State. There's a lot of really good receivers in Florida. William Foles, who just visited today. And if Hakeem Williams keeps progressing like he has been, I think he's going to be number one on the board for Florida. He's been on the campus several times, really likes the connection he has with the coaches, and they've done a really good job recruiting him. And I think their chances with him are better than average. You have Shelton Sampson, another wide receiver they just hosted out of Louisiana. They have a connection. Gabe Fertitta was his coach. He's now on staff at FSU. Him and Ricky Collins play on the same 7-on team. Sampson is a kid that they've quietly been confident on. LSU is a competitor being from Louisiana, but they feel like they have a legitimate chance at him. And I mentioned these two names because, again, like running back and linebacker, when you read FSU Twitter, there's a lot of debate on wide receiver recruiting. these coaches feel pretty good on where they're at. They have Van Javius Jacobs committed. They have Darren Lawrence committed. I think Jacobs might be a corner on the next level. And then you have Andy Jean, who was committed to Miami, who was just on a visit. He visited Texas A&M a few weeks ago, very much like Amari Cooper. Again, super talented position in Florida this year. And I can't talk about Florida State recruiting without talking about Lamont Green Jr. He was absolutely dominant at FSU's most recent camp. And here's a kid who is 6'4", 250-ish, 245. I expect him to finish in the top 100 when things are said and done. He had a monster junior season, comes up to this camp, and his get off and his physicality, and he's mature in his game. Uses his hands very well. I'm a big fan of Lamont Green. I can't not mention him talking about recruiting.